Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Emma Carter was cleaning the CEO's office, humming a pop song playing on her phone. She twirled with the cloth in her hands, swayed her hips a bit, and chuckled to herself. If someone saw this, I'd either get sacked or win a prize on the same day, she said. She was so caught up in the music that she didn't hear the elevator stop on the floor, but she did hear the sound of shoes on the tile. Emma froze, her eyes widening. No, not now, she whispered, lowering the volume on her phone and glancing toward the door. When she saw the man in the hallway, her heart leaped to her throat. James Whittaker, the CEO, the boss, the man with the priciest tie in the building. Emma dropped the broom, tripped over the bucket, and nearly toppled backward. I'm dreaming. This is a nightmare, she whispered, breathing heavily. With reflexes straight out of an action flick, she dove under the desk. James walked in, not noticing anything odd. He placed his briefcase on the desk and pressed a button on the phone. Give me an update now, he ordered firmly. A voice responded on the other end. Maple canceled the contract, and Polaris did too. 2 cancellations in 2 weeks, he said, his voice tense. That tanks our whole quarter. Investors are already talking. They want to see changes. James leaned back in his chair, silent for a moment. Emma crouched under the desk, stifling her nervous laughter, trying not to breathe. She couldn't believe she was hearing all this. One more loss, and we're done, he muttered, mostly to himself. We need to act fast, sir. James ended the call. He tossed the phone onto the desk and rubbed his face with both hands. He looked exhausted, frustrated, worried. He stood and walked to the window, standing there quietly for a few seconds. Then he said softly, "If I fall, I'll fall alone." Then he picked up his briefcase and left, closing the door behind him. Emma stayed under the desk, frozen. Congratulations, Emma. You nearly had a heart attack, and now you're an accidental corporate spy, she said to herself. She slowly got up, still processing what had happened. The CEO of Whittaker Corp., the most respected man in the company, was desperate, and no one knew. She looked at the papers on the desk. Numbers, contracts, red graphs. She didn't grasp everything, but it was clear the company was in trouble. On impulse, she left the office and went to reception. She grabbed a notepad and a blue pen. She returned and carefully sat in the CEO's chair. For a brief moment, she took a deep breath. You've lost it, Emma. Completely lost it, she wrote in bold handwriting. Cut losses by renegotiating the contract with the Western branch. Use clause 15C, staggered delivery over 100 days, saves 20%, and buys time to fix cash flow. At the end, she added, sometimes the solution comes from where no one expects. She folded the paper carefully, placed it under the monitor, then stood, put the chair back, grabbed her bucket, and left the office like nothing happened. But deep down, she knew she'd crossed a line. The next morning, James arrived early, visibly drained. He left his jacket on the chair, turned on the computer, and saw the folded note on the desk. He picked it up, curious, and read it, frowned, then read it again. The clause mentioned was real, rarely used but valid. It could work. He called Beatrice. Did anyone come in here last night? He asked. She checked the records. Just the cleaning crew. No one else, sir, she replied. James returned to his desk, note in hand, and sat slowly, staring at it. There was no signature, no clues, just a solution. For the first time in weeks, he felt something he thought was gone. Hope. James spent the next day obsessed with the mystery note. Every employee in the hall became a suspect. He studied the handwriting, searched for clues, even asked Beatrice to check the access logs again. Are you sure only the cleaning crew was here? He asked for the 3rd time. Absolutely, Mr. Whittaker. The system records all access cards. Only authorized Clearwave staff entered after 10 p.m., she replied. James shook his head. Frustrated, he implemented the note's suggestion, and surprisingly, the renegotiation with the Western branch worked perfectly. The 20% savings were real, and cash flow was improving. Whoever this person was, they knew business like few others. Emma arrived for another night of work, stomach churning with nerves. She couldn't stop thinking about what she'd done. It was madness, but part of her felt proud. Her suggestion worked. You seem different today, said Lily, her best friend and co-worker, as they sorted cleaning supplies. more upbeat. "Don't be silly." Emma brushed it off. But she couldn't hide her smile. When she got to James's office, he wasn't there. Emma worked as usual but couldn't resist glancing at the papers on his desk. She saw reports showing numbers improving after the renegotiation. Her strategy had saved millions. Her heart raced. If a simple suggestion had such impact, maybe she could help more. Emma recalled a plot from the show Empire of Ambition, where the main character saved her family's company by diversifying investments. She grabbed another sheet and wrote, "Consider partnerships with eco-friendly tech firms. The green market grows 25% a year. Whitaker Corp could lead this sector before competitors catch on. Think wind energy for data centers like in Green Horizon episode 45, your favorite anonymous consultant." She left the note in the same spot and left, feeling like a spy on a secret mission. The next morning, James found the second note and grew even more curious. The reference to the show was odd, but the ecotech suggestion made sense. He looked up the episode and found a similar story existed. "Beatrice, I need a list of all employees with management or economics knowledge," he said, determined. "That includes every department, sir, everyone. And I want to know who has access to confidential financial reports." Over the next week, James received 3 more notes, each more detailed, always with references to Latin American dramas and surprisingly effective strategies. The third note suggested a marketing campaign inspired by passion for profit, where the main company used emotional storytelling to win customers. The fourth idea involved restructuring departments based on Lucia's venture. All the strategies worked. In 2 weeks, Whitaker Corp didn't just recover, it exceeded its quarterly goals. James was desperate to find his mysterious consultant. "She knows our numbers better than some directors," he muttered, studying the latest note. Then he had an idea, a senior consultant position. Beatrice raised her eyebrows as James dictated the job ad. "Exactly. Salary, above market, exceptional benefits. I want to attract the best talent in the city," he explained, though he hoped to attract one specific person. The ad was posted on major job sites and newspapers. James was sure his mysterious advisor wouldn't resist. Now he just had to wait. 3 weeks later, Whitaker Corp held a party to celebrate the stellar quarterly results. The event was on the top floor, turned into a ballroom with a city view. Emma and the cleaning crew were called to work during the event as support staff. She wore her best uniform and tried to stay unnoticed among the elegant guests. The party was in full swing when Emma overheard a conversation that chilled her blood. "He thinks he's clever, but he won't last long in charge," said a cold, calculating female voice. Emma hid behind a decorative column and saw a brunette woman, impeccably dressed, talking to a man in a costly suit. "Clara, are you sure you want to do this?" the man asked, clearly uneasy. "Absolutely, Nathan. James humiliated me by ending our engagement in front of everyone. Now it's my turn to humiliate him," Clara replied, her eyes gleaming with vengeance. "I sabotaged the Maple and Polaris contracts weeks ago. That was just the start." Emma's eyes widened. Clara was behind the company's early financial woes, and now Nathan asked, "Now I'll hit where it hurts most. I have insider info on Whitaker Corp's upcoming launches. I'll sell it to the competition and watch his empire crumble." Clara smiled coldly. "He'll lose everything, just like I lost my reputation. That's corporate crime." "Clara, it's justice," she answered. "Next week, when they launch the new eco-friendly product line, Apex Corp will already have the same thing on the market. James will look like a cheap imitator." Emma felt the ground vanish beneath her. She had to warn James. But how? She couldn't just walk up and say she overheard a private conversation. Clara continued, "Nathan, you'll hack the system on Friday and give me access to the EcoWave project files. I have a contact at Apex who'll pay well for this information. Clara, you owe me this. Don't forget who got you your IT job at Whitaker Corp." The man sighed and nodded, clearly reluctant. Emma waited for them to walk away and quickly left the hall. She needed to act fast. That night, after the party ended and everyone left, Emma returned to James's office. Her hands shook as she wrote, "Urgent. Beware of enemies close by. Someone inside is selling info to the competition. The EcoWave project is at risk. Check system access on Friday and monitor Nathan Lee from IT. A betrayal is planned by someone you least expect. Trust only those who prove loyalty through actions, not words. Your anonymous guardian. Emma folded the note carefully and placed it on the computer keyboard where James couldn't miss it. As she left, her heart pounded. This was no longer just about giving business advice. Now she was protecting the company and the man she had quietly come to admire. The next day, James found the most serious note he'd ever received. The word urgent in capitals made his stomach turn. He read it 3 times, analyzing every word. Nathan Lee. He knew Nathan, an efficient worker, never caused trouble. But the mysterious consultant had never been wrong. James called the head of security and set up discreet monitoring of the IT system. If someone was planning an inside attack, he'd be ready. As he put the note away in the drawer with the others, James murmured, "Whoever you are, you're saving me in ways you can't imagine." The hunt for the mysterious consultant had become more than professional curiosity. It was about the company's survival, and somewhere on the lower floors, Emma continued her nightly routine, unaware she had become the secret guardian of the Whitaker empire. Emma was finishing cleaning the bathroom on the 15th floor when Lily appeared, out of breath, holding her phone. "Emma, you need to see this right now," she shouted, forgetting they were on the clock. "Lily, keep it down." "If the supervisor hears, we'll get fired," Emma whispered, but her friend's expression was so intense, she dropped the cleaning cloth. "Forget the supervisor. Look at this." Lily showed her phone screen with a job ad highlighted. Senior consultant at Whitaker Corp. Starting salary, $90,000 a year, plus benefits. "Emma, that's almost 4 times what you make here." Emma felt her stomach twist. She read the ad quickly, pretending it was new, though she'd memorized every word. "Lily, this isn't for me. Look at the requirements. MBA preferred. 5 years consulting experience. Fluent in at least 2 languages. You speak Spanish and English perfectly. And you have a business degree from Columbia," Lily interrupted, exasperated. "Why do you always sell yourself short?" Emma sighed and sat in a nearby chair. It was time to reveal the truth she'd kept hidden. "Lily, do you know why I work here?" "Of course." Lily stopped, realizing she'd never asked. "Actually, I don't know." Emma looked at her hands, still in rubber gloves. 5 years ago, I was in my last semester of college. Great grades, internship at a financial consulting firm. A bright future ahead, she began quietly. Then my father had a sudden stroke. He died instantly. Lily sat beside her, gently touching her arm. My mother fell into deep depression. She stopped working, stopped eating properly, barely left her bed. I had to choose. Finish college or take care of her, Emma continued, swallowing tears. I quit everything 3 classes before graduating. Finding a job without a degree was tough. This job saved me. But you went back and finished, right? I did. I took the last classes at night, studying late after work. I graduated 2 years ago, but I've never used the diploma, Emma smiled sadly. Who'd hire someone who dropped out and became a cleaner? Lily was silent, absorbing the revelation. Emma, you're the smartest person I know. Remember when you helped me with my budget or explained to Miguel how to renegotiate his debts? You have a real talent for this. This is different, Lily. Helping friends is one thing. But what? Being successful using the brain you've got? Lily stood, determined. Emma Carter, you're applying for that job even if I have to tie you to a chair and fill out the form myself. Emma laughed despite feeling emotional. Even if I wanted to. Look at me. I don't have the right clothes for an interview. No updated resume, no references. Stop it. You have a degree, intelligence, and I have a closet full of clothes I never wear. Lily grabbed Emma's phone. Let's do your application now. Lily, no. No, nothing. What's your email again? Against her reason, Emma found herself dictating the information to Lily, who filled out the online form with fierce determination. Work experience, Lily murmured. I'll put process optimization specialist at Clearwave Services. It's true. You always find better ways to get the job done. That feels a bit dishonest. It's strategic, and under special skills, I'll write self-taught financial data analysis. Lily kept typing. Also true. You always understand those complex charts in the papers. When Lily clicked submit, Emma felt like she'd jumped off a cliff. Done. Application sent. Lily smiled proudly. Now we wait. They'll never call me, Emma muttered. But inside she felt a mix of fear and hope. 2 days later, Emma nearly dropped the bucket when her phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello, Miss Carter. This is Beatrice Walsh, Executive Secretary at Whitaker Corp. Mr. Whitaker would like to schedule an interview for the senior consultant position." Emma was silent for 5 seconds. "Miss, are you there?" "Yes. Yes. I'm here," Emma stammered. "Interview when? Would tomorrow at 2 p.m. work? Our office is at Harrison Tower, top floor." Emma looked around the hallway she was cleaning, the same hallway she'd walked down the next day as a candidate for an executive job. "Perfect. I'll be there." "Excellent. Bring an updated resume and be ready to discuss business growth strategies. Have a good day." When she hung up, Emma realized she was shaking. Lily worked like a guardian angel over the next 24 hours. She lent Emma a sharp navy suit, low heels, a leather purse, helped print resumes on special paper, and practiced interview questions. "Remember, you're not a cleaner trying to be a consultant. You're a qualified professional returning to the market," Lily repeated for the 10th time while fixing Emma's hair. "What if he recognizes me?" "How? You always wear a cap and uniform at night. Besides, people like James Whitaker don't notice cleaning staff." Sad, but true. On the morning of the interview, Emma looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. The suit made her look confident and professional. Her hair, down, framed her face elegantly. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. At exactly 2 o'clock, Emma was at the reception on the top floor, trying to control her nerves. The place looked exactly as she knew it, but now she saw it from a different perspective. "Miss Carter," Beatrice appeared with a professional smile. "Mr. Whitaker, we'll see you now." Emma followed Beatrice down the familiar hallway to the office door where she'd hidden so many times. She took a deep breath and went in. James Whitaker was standing behind the desk, flipping through papers. When he looked up, Emma felt the world pause for a second. He was even more striking up close. Neatly combed dark hair, piercing green eyes, confident posture, just as she'd imagined during her nightly observations. "Miss Carter, pleasure to meet you." James extended his hand with a warm smile. "Please have a seat." Emma shook his hand, thankful she wasn't trembling. "Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Whitaker." James sat and opened a folder with her resume. Columbia University, Business Administration, with a focus on corporate finance. "Excellent grades," he commented. "Impressed. But I see a gap of a few years here. Can you explain?" Emma had rehearsed this answer. "I had to pause my career for family reasons. My mother got sick, and I needed to take care of her. During that time, I kept studying on my own and following the market." "I understand. What made you decide to come back now?" "Honestly, I feel I have a lot to contribute. I've spent the last few years watching the corporate world from a different angle, and I believe that gave me unique insights into efficiency and process improvement." James leaned forward, intrigued. "What kind of insights?" Emma took a deep breath. It was now or never. For example, many companies focus only on numbers but overlook the human element. A motivated and valued employee produces 30% more than an unmotivated one. Small workplace changes can lead to big savings. "Interesting. Give me a practical example." Emma quickly thought of something she'd noticed during her nights working. Let's say a company has high turnover. Instead of just raising salaries, why not look into whether the issue is communication between departments? Sometimes the solution costs less than the obvious fix. James made notes. "And what about growth strategies? How would you approach a company in financial trouble?" Emma felt on familiar ground. "First, I'd identify the bottlenecks. The problem isn't always where it seems. Then I'd look for ways to diversify using existing resources. For example, a traditional company could explore emerging markets or sustainable technologies without big upfront costs." James raised his eyebrows. "Do you have specific knowledge about sustainable markets?" "I've been following the sector's growth. It's a market that grows 25% a year and has room for innovation," Emma replied, recalling the research she'd done for the anonymous notes. "Impressive," James murmured, surprised by her depth. They talked for another 40 minutes. Emma discussed market trends, marketing strategies, resource optimization, and mentioned case studies she'd read, actually from soap operas. But he didn't need to know that. "Miss Carter, I must say your answers were refreshing," James finally said. "You have a unique perspective that might be exactly what we need here." Emma's heart raced. "Would you like to join our team? Really? Emma stammered, momentarily losing her professional composure. James laughed. Very much so. When can you start? Whenever you need me. How about Monday? Beatrice will handle the paperwork. Welcome to Whitaker Corp, Consultant Carter. When Emma left the office 20 minutes later, she still couldn't believe it. She waited until she reached the ground floor to call Lily. So? Lily answered on the first ring. I got it, Emma whispered, still in shock. Lily, I really got it. On the other end, Lily shouted so loud, Emma had to pull the phone away. Walking through Manhattan's streets, Emma felt her life had changed in one afternoon. On Monday, she'd be a consultant at Whitaker Corp. On Monday, she'd work in the same building, but in a different world. And James Whitaker had no idea he'd just hired his anonymous guardian. But deep down, he suspected Emma might be the woman behind the notes. Monday arrived like a storm in Emma's life. At 8 a.m., she was on the 30th floor of Harrison Tower, wearing Lily's borrowed suit, trying to look confident as Beatrice led her through the hallways she knew so well. Your office is here. Beatrice opened the door to a room with a city view. Mr. Whitaker asked you to review the quarterly reports before the 10 o'clock meeting. Emma entered, pretending to admire the room as if seeing it for the first time. In fact, she'd cleaned that office the week before. Thank you, Beatrice. One question. Where's the women's restroom? End of the hall to the left, Beatrice answered, but frowned slightly. You know this building well for someone who's never worked here. Emma felt her blood run cold. Oh, I came here a few times for meetings when I worked at my previous company. She lied quickly. This building is well known in the financial district. Beatrice seemed to accept the explanation and left. Emma collapsed into the chair, heart racing. She needed to be more careful. In the first meeting, Emma surprised everyone by presenting a detailed analysis on resource optimization based on Vita Perfecta, a soap opera she'd watched with her mother. The idea is to create mini departments that handle multiple tasks, she explained, pointing to her chart. Each small team can solve specific problems without bureaucracy. James watched her with growing interest. Where did you get this idea, Emma? International case studies, she answered vaguely. Argentinian companies have used similar systems with great success. Fascinating. Go on. Emma spent the week revolutionizing processes with ideas, blending her academic knowledge with strategies from years of watching business soap operas. She suggested marketing campaigns based on heart of business and reorganizations inspired by corporate passion. To her surprise, everything worked perfectly. The problem was Emma couldn't quit her night cleaning job. The consultant's salary was great, but it took 30 days to start. She needed the cleaning money for her mother's bills and rent. At 7 p.m. on Wednesday, Emma was in the 20th floor bathroom changing. She packed the suit in her backpack, put on her Clearwave uniform, tied her hair, put on her cap, and became the invisible cleaner again. You're going to burn out at this pace, Lily said when they met in the supply closet. Just a few more weeks, Emma whispered, until my first paycheck. What if someone recognizes you? Who would? During the day, I wear business clothes. Hair down, makeup. At night, I'm in uniform and cap. Plus, executives don't notice cleaners. Lily shook her head, worried. Just be careful. On Thursday, James was reviewing reports when he noticed something odd. The new consultant's suggestions felt familiar. Not the content, but the style, the structure. He pulled out the drawer with the anonymous notes and compared them to Emma's proposals. There were subtle similarities. Focus on the human element. References to Latino culture, creative solutions. Could it be? He murmured. During the afternoon meeting, James tested a theory. Emma, you've mentioned Argentinian companies several times. Do you have specific experience with that market? Emma hesitated for a split second. My family is of Latino origin. I grew up watching, following the business culture there through documentaries and studies, cultural information sources. James noticed the hesitation and grew more curious. On Friday night, Emma was cleaning James's office when she heard the elevator. Panic. She looked at the clock. Midnight, 15. He never came that late. She quickly put away supplies and headed for the door, but heard footsteps approaching too fast. She wouldn't make it out. Desperate, she hid behind the bookcase, holding her breath. James entered, murmuring on the phone. "Elliot, I need to check something. I have a theory about our mysterious note-writing consultant." Emma felt the world collapse. Was he suspicious of her? It might be paranoia, but there are specific similarities between the notes and the new consultant's proposals, James continued. Both mention Latino references. Both follow the same innovative thinking pattern. Emma was sweating. James went to the desk and turned on the computer. "I'll compare the handwriting on the notes with her meeting notes." Emma's heart pounded so loudly she was sure he could hear it. James spent 15 minutes examining papers and comparing. "Interesting," he murmured. "Very interesting." Finally, he turned off the computer and prepared to leave. Emma stayed hidden, but when she shifted for comfort, she knocked over a paperweight on the shelf. It hit the floor loudly. "Who's there?" James asked, turning quickly. Emma froze. She heard his steps nearing the shelf. In desperation, she ran the other way, trying to reach the door. "Hey, stop right there." Emma ran down the hall, stumbling slightly. Something fell from her ear. One of the small pearl earrings Lily had lent her with the uniform. She reached the elevator and pressed the ground floor button. Gasping through the glass, she saw James appear in the hall, looking confused. On Saturday morning, James arrived early and found the pearl earring in the hallway. He examined it carefully. It was delicate, feminine, definitely not belonging to night security guards. He called the cleaning company. "I need the list of female employees working on the 30th floor, he told the supervisor. "We have 3 employees in that department, sir. Should I send the info?" "Please do." When James received the list by email, he studied the names. Lily Morales, Sofia Ramirez, and Emma Carter. He stopped at the last name. Emma Carter, his new consultant. "This can't be a coincidence," he murmured, holding the earring. It was time to find out the truth about Emma Carter once and for all. James put the earring in the drawer with the anonymous notes. The puzzle pieces were aligning, and he had a feeling Monday would be very interesting. Meanwhile, Emma spent the weekend in panic, wondering if James had uncovered her secret identity and if she'd still have a job on Monday. The double life that had worked for a week was now hanging by a thin thread. Clara Thornton watched Whitaker Corp's numbers with growing irritation from her private office at Apex Corp. Her sabotage plans should have crushed the company weeks ago, but instead, results were the best in years. "How is this possible?" she muttered, flipping through financial reports obtained through Nathan Lee. According to her intel, James should have been desperate, ready to accept her help. The plan was simple: ruin the company from within, appear as the savior, and regain not only James but control of Whitaker Corp. Instead, the company was thriving inexplicably. Clara picked up the phone and dialed. "Lucas Black Investigations. I need your services. I want a full investigation on Whitaker Corp's new consultant, Emma Carter. Everything about her." Meanwhile, James spent his days watching Emma with a mix of admiration and suspicion. During Monday's meeting, he noticed how well she knew every department's location. "Emma, could you get the HR reports?" he asked, testing her. "Sure. 15th floor, room 1507, right?" She replied automatically, then stopped, realizing her mistake. "I mean, if that's where HR usually is." James narrowed his eyes. "How do you know the room number?" "I passed by there yesterday and saw the sign." Emma stammered, clearly nervous. Later at lunch, James watched Emma navigate the halls with suspicious familiarity. She quietly greeted maintenance staff, knew exactly where the water fountains were, and even knew the security guard's name. "I must be losing it," he muttered, "or something very strange is going on." On Tuesday, James decided another test. During a team meeting, he said, "We need to improve the lighting on the 12th floor. The bulbs are dim." Emma responded automatically. "The 3 bulbs in the east hallway burned out last week. It'd be good to change the women's restroom lights, too. They're flickering." Complete silence in the room. Everyone looked at Emma. "How do you know that?" James asked, intrigued. Emma blushed deeply. "I noticed it when I passed by for a meeting with marketing, but James knew marketing was on the 20th floor, not the 12th. On Wednesday, Clara received the report she'd been waiting for. Lucas Black had done a flawless job. "Interesting," she said on the phone, flipping through photos. "Emma Carter, consultant by day, cleaner by night. What valuable information." Clara smiled coldly. She had the weapon to destroy the consultant, ruining her plans. That afternoon, she asked Nathan Lee to get Emma's leaving time. It was time for a private talk. Emma was leaving Harrison Tower at 6 p.m. when someone stopped her on the sidewalk. Emma Carter. She turned and saw a brunette woman, elegant, in an expensive wool coat, with a smile that chilled her blood. Yes? Clara Thornton. Nice to meet you. Clara extended her hand with fake friendliness. Can we talk? It's about your work. Emma felt a shiver of foreboding. I don't know you, but I'm in a hurry. I'm someone who knows exactly who you are. Clara lowered her voice but kept the smile. Or rather, I know who you are by day and who you become at night. Emma's blood ran cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Night cleaner posing as a daytime consultant. Please, dear. Clara showed a photo on her phone of Emma leaving in her cleaning uniform. I have complete documentation of your double life. Emma looked around, checking if anyone was listening. The sidewalk was busy, but no one paid attention. What do you want? To talk. Let's walk. Clara started moving, and Emma followed with no choice. I'll get to the point, Emma. You're messing up my plans, Clara said quietly but firmly. James and I have history, and your presence is complicating things. What history? We were engaged and will be again once I clear obstacles. Clara stopped in front of a diner. You're one of those obstacles. Emma felt anger rising. I have nothing to do with your personal life. Yes, you do. James is too impressed with you. This can't continue. Clara faced her directly. So, here's my offer. Quit the consultant position tomorrow, or James will find out his brilliant employee is a lying cleaner. You can't do that. I can, and I will. Clara showed more photos on her phone. I have you arriving as a cleaner, leaving as an executive, talking to cleaning staff. I even have pictures of you hiding in his office last Friday. Emma felt the world collapse. Clara knew everything. What exactly do you want? For you to disappear. Simple. Clara put away her phone. Make up an excuse, quit, and vanish from James's life. In exchange, your secret stays safe, and if I don't? Clara laughed coldly. Then tomorrow morning, James will get an envelope with these photos and a detailed explanation of how you fooled him. I wonder how he'll react when he finds out he was manipulated by a servant. Emma clenched her fists. You're despicable. I'm practical. James deserves someone from his social class, not a cleaner pretending to be an executive. Clara adjusted her purse. You have until noon tomorrow to decide. Quit or exposure. Choose wisely. Clara walked away, leaving Emma trembling with anger and fear on the sidewalk. That night, James stayed late in the office, sorting his thoughts. He took the pearl earring and examined it again. Am I going crazy? He murmured. Or are my consultant and my mysterious cleaner the same person? He recalled all the signs. Her intimate knowledge of the building, the similar cultural references in notes and reports, her evasive answers about her past. But if true, why would she lie? And would it change her exceptional work? James put the earring in the drawer. Whatever his suspicions, Emma had transformed the company. Maybe it was time to confront her directly. But first, he needed certainty. Meanwhile, Emma spent the night sleepless, knowing she had less than 18 hours to make the hardest decision: save her job or protect her secret. James spent the day wrestling with his suspicions about Emma. Every interaction confirmed his theory. She knew the building too well. Details only a nightly worker would know. After Clara's ultimatum, he had to find the truth before it was too late. At 5 p.m., James said he'd leave early but hid in the executive bathroom until everyone left. Then he quietly returned to his office and positioned himself behind the bookcase, where he could see the room without being seen. If Emma was the mysterious cleaner, she'd show up. At 10 p.m., Emma arrived at Harrison Tower with a heavy heart. She had until noon to decide: quit or be exposed by Clara. She put on the Clearwave uniform mechanically, tied her hair back, and grabbed her supplies. Maybe this was her last night as a cleaner. Ironically, it could also be her last morning as a consultant. When she reached the 30th floor, Emma took a deep breath. That office had changed her life in so many ways. It all started here with her secret notes. She entered James's office and began cleaning, lost in thoughts about explaining her sudden departure. So, it really was you? Emma froze. James's calm voice came from behind the bookcase. The cleaning cart crashed to the floor from her hands. She turned slowly and saw him step out of the shadows. but his expression wasn't anger. It was genuine curiosity. "Mr. Whitaker, I can explain. I'm sure you can." James walked toward her but kept a respectful distance. "The question is, why didn't you tell me?" Emma felt tears burning her eyes. "Because I knew I'd lose everything. The job, your trust, my credibility." "Please, have a seat," James said, pointing to the chairs near the window. "Let's talk for real this time." Emma hesitated, still in shock from being caught. "You don't need to be afraid. I just want to understand." She sat on the edge of the chair, nervous. James settled across from her, waiting. "Was it you who left the notes?" Emma nodded silently. "Why?" "Because I overheard your conversation that first night. You seemed so worried, so lost, and I knew I could help," she said, stumbling over words. "I know it sounds crazy, but I learned a lot about business watching soap operas with my mom, and I have a degree in business administration." "So, your degree is real?" "Yes, at Island." Emma told the whole story. Her father's death, her mother's depression, pausing her career to care for her family, finishing her degree years later but never using it. "I needed both jobs to pay Mom's bills and rent." James listened quietly, seeing her in a new light. "You saved my company twice," he said at last. "Once as an anonymous advisor, and once as the official consultant." "I didn't save anything. I just helped a little. Emma, in 6 weeks you turned Whitaker Corp from a company in crisis into a market leader. That's not helping a little." James leaned forward. "Why were you so afraid to tell me the truth?" "Because people like you don't hire people like me. I'm a cleaner, Mr. Whitaker. I come from a poor family, live in a tiny apartment in Brooklyn. My mother cleans houses when she's healthy enough." Emma wiped her tears. "You're the CEO of a multinational. We come from different worlds. You think I care about that? You should. Your board of directors does." James was silent, processing everything. "You know what impresses me most?" he finally said. "It's not just your intelligence or brilliant ideas. It's your courage, working 2 jobs, supporting your mother, graduating despite everything. That takes strength few executives I know have." Emma looked at him, surprised. "You don't see me as a fraud?" "Fraud?" James laughed softly. "Emma, you're the most authentic person I've met. Yes, you lied about your job, but everything you did was out of necessity and love for your family. That's not fraud. That's survival." They talked for hours. James wanted to know about her education, her dreams, how she developed business knowledge through soap operas. Emma shared about studying late after work, how her mother inspired her in tough moments. "You're extraordinary," James said as the clock hit 2 a.m., "not for being a consultant or a cleaner, but for being you." Emma felt something shift between them. The conversation had broken professional barriers. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you stop hiding. Stop being afraid of who you are." James stood. "And we keep working together to make Whitaker Corp better." "And the night job? When your first paycheck arrives, you decide if you still need it, but I won't force you to choose." Emma stood too, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. "Thank you for understanding. Thank you for saving me when I didn't know it." They stood in the quiet office, looking at each other with new mutual understanding. Emma walked down the hall with a heavy feeling in her chest. When she reached the conference room on the 25th floor, she found 5 men in suits around a mahogany table, all with stern expressions. Edward Langley III, the chairman of the board, stood at the head. Next to him, Clara Thornton smiled with false sympathy. "Miss Carter, please have a seat," Edward said coldly. Emma sat, her heart racing. James was not in the room. "We have received troubling information about your professional conduct," Edward began, opening a folder. "Miss Thornton has brought evidence that you deliberately deceived this company about your identity and qualifications." Clara stood, taking control of the presentation. "Gentlemen, as you can see from these photographs," she handed out copies of the pictures she'd taken. "Miss Carter works as a night cleaner in this building. She used this position to spy on confidential conversations and passed herself off as a qualified consultant." "That's not true," Emma protested. "I have a degree in business administration. My qualifications are real." "Oh yes, the degree," Clara smiled maliciously. "Obtained after years working as a servant. And tell me, Miss Carter, did you mention your night job during the interview?" Emma lowered her head. No, I didn't mention it. So you admit you lied by omission? Edward interrupted. You used insider information gained through espionage to pose as a business expert. It wasn't espionage. I overheard a conversation by chance and wanted to help. Help, Clara laughed, or take advantage to infiltrate a place you don't belong. William Park, one of the older directors, shook his head disapprovingly. This is unacceptable. A cleaning staff member pretending to be an executive consultant. What kind of message does that send to our clients and investors? She made a fool of us, added Daniel Torres, another director. Imagine if this leaks to the press. We'll be the laughingstock of Wall Street. Emma tried to defend herself. My work speaks for itself. The results I brought to the company are real, regardless of my night job. Results based on cheating. Clara shot back. You had privileged access to confidential information. Anyone could come up with solutions with that unfair advantage. Where is Mr. Whitaker? Emma asked desperately. He knows my situation and approves of my work. Edward and the directors exchanged looks. Mr. Whitaker is emotionally involved in this matter, Edward said diplomatically. Therefore, the board will make this decision. At that moment, James burst into the room. Sorry for being late. What's this meeting about? Clara smiled triumphantly. We were discussing Miss Carter's situation. James, her true identity has come to light. James looked at Emma, visibly shaken, then at the board. Emma is an exceptional employee. Her results have transformed our company. James, she's a cleaner who pretended to be a consultant, Edward said firmly. That is unacceptable. She has a degree from Columbia University. Her qualifications are legitimate. Obtained after years in janitorial services, William Park interrupted, and she lied about her current status. James tried to argue. Emma revolutionized our processes, increased efficiency by 40%, and created strategies that made us market leaders. Doesn't that count? It counts, but it doesn't justify dishonesty. Edward was firm. Trust is fundamental in business, James. How can we trust someone who deceived us from day one? Clara took advantage. James, I understand your reluctance to admit you were deceived, but think about Whitaker Corp's reputation. Our investors won't tolerate knowing a cleaner had access to strategic info. She's not just a cleaner, James raised his voice, frustrated. But that's what she is at night while pretending to be an executive by day. Edward concluded, this is unacceptable. After a heated 30-minute discussion, the board decided. Miss Carter, Edward announced formally, you are suspended from your duties while we investigate your actions. Depending on what we find, this may result in immediate termination. Emma felt tears welling up. For how long? Until further notice. You may leave. Emma stood with dignity despite the humiliation. Gentlemen, I'm sorry you see my background as a flaw, but I don't regret anything I did to improve this company. She left, head high, but James could see she was devastated. This is a mistake, James told the board after Emma left. It's a necessary decision, Edward replied. And James, I recommend you stay out of this. Your judgment is clearly compromised. That night, Emma returned to her cleaning job, now only as a Clearwave employee. Lily found her in the locker room, visibly upset. What happened? You seemed so happy this morning. Emma told her everything, and Lily was outraged. They can't do this. You proved your worth. They did, and they can, Lily. Maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't have dreamed so big. Meanwhile, James spent the night in his office, gathering all Emma's successes, sales reports, efficiency analyses, client feedback. Everything showed she transformed Whitaker Corp. He called Lucas, his personal lawyer. I need help overturning an unfair board decision. I have an employee targeted because of class prejudice. James was determined to fight for Emma, even if it cost his position. 3 days after Emma's suspension, Whitaker Corp faced its biggest crisis in years. James was in an emergency board meeting when Elliot, his vice president, rushed in, pale. James, we need to talk now. Elliot, we're in a meeting. It's about the Horizon Industries contract. They canceled. The silence was deafening. The Horizon contract was worth $50 million, 20% of the company's annual revenue. How did they cancel? Edward Langley III stood, alarmed. Elliot handed out copies of an email. We got this an hour ago. They claim our proposal was compromised, and they found a similar offer from a competitor. James read the email, stomach churning. The message was clear. Someone had leaked confidential info to the competition. Who else had access to this contract's details? He asked. Only the senior team. Elliot hesitated. And who? Nathan Lee. From IT. He set up the file security system. James recalled Emma's anonymous note warning about Nathan Lee. She'd tried to alert him weeks earlier. Call Nathan in for an immediate meeting, he ordered. 20 minutes later, Nathan Lee was in the conference room, visibly nervous. James got to the point. Nathan, I need honesty. Has anyone had unauthorized access to the Horizon files? Nathan started sweating. Not that I know of, sir. We have records of system access outside hours last week from your workstation. I sometimes work late. James placed a recording on the table. Clara had been careless during a call to Nathan, intercepted by security. Nathan, do you know Clara Thornton? The man broke down. She said it was just public info, that it wouldn't hurt anyone. You sold confidential info to our competitor, James said coldly. That's corporate crime. Nathan confessed everything. How Clara blackmailed him, how he gave info on multiple contracts, how she planned to destroy Whitaker Corp for personal revenge. After security took Nathan away, James was left alone in his office, desperate. The company was collapsing, and the only person who always found solutions wasn't there. Emma had tried to warn him. At 9 p.m., James drove to Brooklyn, finding the address from HR records. He found a modest apartment building and climbed to the 3rd floor. He knocked on apartment 3B. Emma opened the door, in jeans and a simple t-shirt, hair in a ponytail. Seeing James, her expression hardened. Mr. Whitaker, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you, please. We have nothing to talk about. You let the board humiliate me and didn't say a word. Emma, I tried to defend you. Tried? She laughed bitterly. You were there when they called me a lying opportunist, and you didn't stand up for me properly. James hung his head. You're right. I failed you. But now, I need your help. For what? The company is collapsing. Clara sabotaged the Horizon contract. Nathan Lee confessed everything. Without that contract, we'll lay off 300 employees. Emma stared at him for a long moment. And why is that my problem? According to the board, I'm just a lying cleaner. You're the only one who always found solutions when no one else could, James said, voice full of desperation. I need you. The company needs you. Those 300 families need you. Emma hesitated, seeing his sincerity. Come in, she finally said. The apartment was small but cozy. James noticed pictures of Emma with an older woman, her mother, and framed diplomas on the wall. My mom is sleeping, Emma explained quietly. She's not feeling well. They sat at the kitchen table, where James explained everything. Clara's sabotage, the lost contract, the company's critical state. Clara planned it perfectly, he concluded. She has inside info on all our next moves. Emma was silent, processing. Are you sure she's selling info to Apex Corp? Absolutely. Nathan confirmed it. Emma got up and went to a shelf of soap opera DVDs. Remember Ganza de Poder? Number. The main character found her ex-husband was sabotaging her company. She pretended to give up, but was setting a trap. Emma grabbed a DVD and showed the cover. She made him think he'd won, only to expose his crimes publicly. James frowned. What are you suggesting? That we use Clara's arrogance against her, Emma said, excited as her strategic mind kicked in. She thinks she's won. Let's make her believe you're desperate and willing to do anything. How? Emma explained a detailed plan. James would pretend to sell part of the company to Clara in exchange for saving Whitaker Corp. During negotiations, they'd record Clara confessing her crimes. But for that to work, we need solid proof she stole info, and we need the Horizon contract back. How? Emma smiled for the first time that night. Remember episode 73 of Empire of Success? The main character proved competitors stole her ideas by showing they didn't understand the project they copied. James began to understand. You want us to create a technical presentation so complex only someone who developed the project can answer the questions? Exactly. And we'll do it tomorrow in front of the Horizon executives. They spent the night developing the plan. Emma created a recovery strategy based on 3 soap operas but used her real business knowledge to make it practical. When the sun rose, they had a solid plan to save the company and expose Clara. "Emma," James said as she walked him to the door, "thank you for helping me, even after everything." "I'm not doing this for you," she replied. "I'm doing it for the 300 families who could lose their jobs because of one woman's revenge." James nodded, understanding. "When this is over, I'll make sure the board recognizes your value. First, we save the company," Emma said. "Then we think about the rest." But inside, she knew that even if she saved Whitaker Corp again, she might never get her position back. The next morning, James arrived at the office at 6 a.m. to start the plan. First, he needed to set the stage for the trap to expose Clara. He called Elliot, "Arrange an emergency meeting with the Horizon executives for today at 2 p.m. Tell them we have a last-minute proposal to save the contract." "James, they already canceled. Why would they come back?" "Because we're offering something the competition can't, a custom solution only we can deliver." At 10 a.m., Emma arrived quietly through the service entrance. Lily had helped with a simple disguise: sunglasses, a cap, casual clothes. She went straight to James's office. "All set?" she asked. "The meeting with Horizon is scheduled," and Clara took the bait. James showed a message on his phone. "She'll be here at 3 to discuss a partnership to save Whitaker Corp." Emma smiled. "The first part of the plan is working. The recording system?" Elliot installed equipment in both rooms. Everything said will be recorded. They spent the next hours refining the presentation for Horizon. Emma created a detailed, technical implementation strategy that only someone who understood the original project could answer. "If Apex Corp stole our project," Emma explained, "they'll only have surface-level info. They won't explain the technical details." At 2 p.m., the Horizon Industries executives arrived. CEO Michael Grant, Colorado Laura Kim, and technical consultant Stephen Ortiz. "Gentlemen," James began, "I know you canceled the contract, but we'd like to present a new approach." Emma, identified only as an implementation specialist, started her presentation. She explained a logistics optimization system based on predictive analysis and real-time data integration. "Our method uses adaptive algorithms tailored to Horizon's seasonal variations," Emma explained, showing complex charts. "This results in a 25% savings in operating costs in the first year." Michael Grant leaned forward, interested. "Apex Corp offered something similar, but not with this detail. How did you get these numbers?" Emma smiled inwardly. It was the question she expected. "We based our analysis on 3 unique Horizon factors: your seasonal distribution pattern, the geography of your distribution centers, and employee turnover rates. These create a custom algorithm no competitor can copy without this data." Laura Kim asked several technical questions. Emma answered precisely, showing deep knowledge of Horizon Industries itself. "Impressive," muttered Stephen Ortiz. "Apex's proposal didn't have half this detail because they only copied the surface," James said. "They didn't have access to the real project development." After 2 hours of presentation and questions, Michael Grant concluded, "It's clear you developed an innovative solution. Apex gave us a simplified version, which we now see as a poor copy. We want to reactivate our contract with Whitaker Corp." At 3:15, Clara Thornton arrived at James's office, confident and elegant. "James, dear, I heard things aren't going well," she said with false sympathy. "Maybe it's time to accept my help." "Clara, I admit you were right. The situation is critical. I warned you about your cleaning lady consultant, but don't worry. We can fix this together," Clara said, sitting, satisfied. "I'm ready to invest in Whitaker Corp and get it back on track. What kind of investment? I'll buy 40% of the company at a fair price. In return, I bring my expertise and contacts to recover the lost contracts." James pretended to consider. "How can I be sure you can help?" Clara couldn't resist bragging. "James, I orchestrated this whole situation. The contracts you lost, it was all planned. Nathan Lee has been working for me for months. I have info on all your next moves. You sabotaged my company. I sabotaged a company that should have been mine since we were engaged." Clara stood proudly. "But now I can fix everything. I already have the Horizon and Peterson Industries contracts signed with Apex. I can transfer them back for a price. James stood too. And if I refuse, then Whitaker Corp will fail in 6 months. I'm sure because I planned its destruction, Clara smiled coldly. Choose, James. Accept my partnership, or lose everything. At that moment, Elliot entered with 2 FBI agents. Clara Thornton, you're under arrest for industrial espionage, corporate sabotage, and extortion, the lead agent announced. Clara turned pale. This is absurd. You can't prove anything. James picked up a recorder from the desk. Actually, we recorded your full confession. As Clara was taken away in handcuffs, the story leaked to the press. Within hours, social media buzzed about the vengeful ex-fiancé who tried to destroy a company out of jealousy. But the real surprise came when the true story emerged. How a cleaner discovered the sabotage and saved the company twice. The hashtag #CleaningLadyGenius trended. Journalists wanted to interview Emma. The story spread nationwide. The woman who cleaned offices at night and saved companies by day. The next day, James called an emergency board meeting. Gentlemen, he began, placing documents on the table, I need to share facts about Emma Carter. Edward Langley III sighed. James, we already decided about the cleaner. The cleaner who saved our company twice, James interrupted. And now she's nationally recognized as a business genius. James presented impressive numbers. A 47% increase in operational efficiency, 32% growth in sales, 28% reduction in operating costs, and now recovery of contracts worth $70 million. Also, he continued, the positive buzz on social media brought a 15% rise in our stock value today. William Park looked over the numbers, impressed. These results are extraordinary. These are the results of Emma Carter's work. The woman you suspended out of prejudice, James said firmly. Daniel Torres shook his head. James, even with these results, she lied about her identity. She left out one detail because she knew you'd be biased. And you were. James stood. Gentlemen, we have 2 options. Recognize Emma's exceptional talent and bring her back with the promotion she deserves, or explain to the press why we fired the genius cleaner who saved our company. The silence was telling. Edward sighed deeply. All right, James. What's your proposal? The boardroom stayed quiet for several seconds after James laid out his plan. Edward looked at the papers, then at the other directors. You're suggesting we promote an employee who withheld crucial info during hiring? I'm suggesting we recognize the exceptional talent of someone who saved our company twice and is now nationally known as a business genius, James replied firmly. William Park flipped through the reports. The numbers don't lie. 47% increase in efficiency, 32% sales growth. And don't forget the stock rise, Elliot added. 15% in one day. Investors are thrilled with the genius cleaner story. Daniel Torres sighed. Still, it sets a dangerous precedent. If we promote someone who lied in the interview. She didn't lie about her qualifications, James interrupted. She has a business degree from Columbia. Her strategies are based on real knowledge. She didn't say she was a cleaner at night out of financial need. I want to create a new department, Innovation Directorate, focused on creative business solutions, out-of-the-box thinking, and unconventional process optimization. Emma would be the director. Director? William Park raised his eyebrows. That's a leap. Based on considerable results, James shot back. Besides, we need to capitalize on the media attention. Emma Carter has become a symbol of overcoming odds and innovation. Firing her would be a PR disaster. The directors exchanged looks. Elliot showed his tablet. Look at this. Whitaker Corp, the company that recognizes talent where others see only employees. That's today's Wall Street Journal headline. And here, Elliot flipped the screen. How a cleaner revolutionized a multinational. Lessons in inclusive leadership. Harvard Business Review wants a case study on our company. Edward sighed deeply. All right, but with conditions. 6-month probation, direct supervision, and full transparency about her situation. James smiled. I accept all conditions. An hour later, James stood outside Emma's apartment in Brooklyn. When she opened the door, she looked like she hadn't slept much. James, what are you doing here? I came with good news. Can I come in? Emma led him into the living room, where her mother was watching television. Mom, this is James Whitaker, my former boss. Mrs. Maria Carter smiled warmly. Oh, the famous CEO. Emma talks a lot about you. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Carter. Call me Maria. Want some coffee? I just made some. While Maria prepared coffee, James and Emma sat on the sofa. So, what's the good news? The board approved your reinstatement with a promotion. Emma's eyes widened. Promotion? Innovation Director. New department focused on creative business solutions. Salary of $120,000 a year, plus benefits. Emma was silent, processing. Director? Me? You deserve it, Emma. More than deserve it. Maria came back with coffee, noticing the tension. Did something good happen? Mom, Emma said, still shocked. They offered me a promotion to director. Maria shouted with joy and hugged her daughter. My girl, I always knew you'd go far. After Maria went to rest, James and Emma stayed on the apartment balcony, watching Brooklyn's streets below. Thank you, Emma said softly, for believing in me when no one else did. No need to thank me. You proved your worth on your own. They stayed in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Emma, can I ask a personal question? Of course. Why did you risk everything by leaving those anonymous notes? You could have just done your cleaning job. Emma smiled sadly. Because I saw you that night, so worried, so lost. And I thought, I can help. I couldn't ignore it. Even knowing you might get in trouble? Especially because of that. My mother taught me that when you can help someone, you should, no matter the risk. James looked at her with new intensity. Emma, I need to tell you something. What? During these weeks working with you, discovering who you are, I fell in love. Emma felt her heart race. James. Not just because you're a brilliant consultant or a brave cleaner. I fell in love with you for your intelligence, your determination, your genuine kindness. But we come from different worlds. We're from worlds that complete each other. James moved closer. You taught me that value isn't about social status. It's about character. He gently touched her face. Can I kiss you? Emma nodded, and when their lips met, she felt all the struggles were worth it. When they parted, Emma rested her head on James's shoulder. There's one thing I need to tell you about accepting the promotion. What? I'm keeping my night job. James stepped back, surprised. Why? You can support yourself on the director's salary. It's not about money, Emma explained. It's about identity. I don't want to forget where I came from. I want to stay connected to the people who keep the company running. You want to work 16 hours a day? I want to work some nights a week to remind myself that every decision I make as director affects real people with real dreams and needs. James kissed her again. That's why I love you. You never lose sight of what matters. And you don't mind dating a director who's also a cleaner. Mind dating the most extraordinary woman I've met. Never. They laughed together, watching the city lights come on in the distance. You know the best part of all this? Emma asked. What? Tomorrow, I'll be able to help others like me, talented people who just need a chance. James smiled, knowing he'd found not just the woman of his life, but the perfect partner to make Whitaker Corp something bigger than a company. 6 months after becoming innovation director, Emma was in her new office on the 28th floor, working on her most ambitious project, the Talent Discovery Program. Lily, I need your help, she said to her friend, now special assistant in the innovation department. Sure, what do you have in mind? Emma pointed to a pile of resumes on the desk. I want to identify employees in operational roles with potential to grow within the company. People like me who might have hidden qualifications or untapped talents. Lily smiled. Like a human treasure hunt. Exactly. We'll start with cleaning, maintenance, security, and other support departments. Emma created an evaluation system beyond traditional resumes. Informal interviews, practical reasoning tests, and observing daily work behavior. The first candidate was Diego Lopez, a night security guard who caught her attention by always organizing detailed reports about small issues during his rounds. Diego, I saw your reports on energy efficiency on the upper floors, Emma said during the informal interview. How did you learn about that? I study engineering at night, Miss Carter. I'm not finished, but I apply what I learned to work. What if I offered you a position in facilities management? Diego's eyes widened. Would that be possible? With the Talent Discovery Program, anything is possible. In 3 months, Emma identified 12 employees with exceptional potential. a cleaner who spoke 4 languages and could work in international relations, a doorman with an MBA who lost his job in the crisis and could return to finance, a cafeteria worker who created an efficient inventory system. The program's story leaked to the press when Mia Park, a former cleaner promoted to marketing analyst, created a campaign that boosted sales by 28% in the first quarter. Whitaker Corp finds talent where others see only employees. James read the Business Insider headline to Emma. "You're starting a revolution." "I'm just doing what someone did for me," Emma replied, though she knew she was changing lives. Social media exploded with inspiring stories. Talent discovery became a global trending topic. Employees worldwide shared their own stories of hidden talents. The turning point came when James suggested formalizing Emma's unique approach. "Your strategies work, but we need to systematize them so other companies can apply them," he said during a meeting. "What do you mean?" "A management method, something we can teach, license, expand." Emma had an idea. "What if we create something based on storytelling? I've used soap opera stories for years to explain complex concepts." James got excited. "You could turn that into a corporate training system." "I can try." Emma spent weeks developing Clear Business, a methodology using simple stories to teach complex management concepts. The first module was Leadership Through Characters, using soap opera plots to explain leadership styles. "Look at Rafael Gomez from The Ideal Leader," Emma explained to executives. "He starts authoritarian but learns true leadership comes from mutual trust. It shows the shift from command to collaborative leadership." The executives smiled but listened closely. The stories made abstract ideas tangible. The second module was Conflict Resolution Through Plots, how soap opera characters solve disputes. In Business Heart, when 2 family businesses fight over inheritance, the solution is a merger benefiting both. That teaches win-win solutions in corporate conflicts. Within 6 months, the Clear Business methodology was tested in 5 partner companies. Results were impressive: 35% improvement in employee retention, 42% increase in worker satisfaction, 29% growth in productivity. Harvard Business School invited Emma to speak on innovation through narratives. Stanford created a case study on Whitaker Corp. MIT wanted to research how simple stories could simplify management concepts. "Emma, do you realize what's happening?" James said one night at their favorite Brooklyn restaurant. "What? You didn't just save a company. You're changing how the corporate world thinks about talent and leadership." Emma smiled, thoughtful. "Sometimes I can't believe it. A year ago, I was a cleaner watching soap operas with my mom. And now you're one of New York's most influential executives. You know what I'm proudest of?" "What?" "The letters I get. People worldwide saying your story inspired them not to give up." James took her hand. "You deserve all that recognition. It's not about me. It's about showing talent exists everywhere. We just have to look." 9 months after launching the Talent Discovery Program, Whitaker Corp became New York's most sought-after company to work for. The waiting list for Clear Business had over 200 companies. Emma created a nonprofit to bring the program to small businesses that couldn't afford expensive consulting. Every month, she still worked a few nights as a volunteer cleaner at shelters and community organizations. "Why do you still do that?" James asked, watching her prepare for volunteer work. "Because I can't forget there are thousands of Emmas out there waiting for a chance." James kissed her. "That's why I love you more every day." 1 year after creating the Talent Discovery Program, Emma stood on the stage of the Grand Ballroom at the Plaza Hotel in Manhattan, receiving the Executive of the Year award from the National Business Leadership Association. "It's an honor to be here," she said into the microphone, holding the golden trophy. "But this award isn't just mine. It belongs to all Whitaker Corp employees who prove talent has no social class, no origin, no uniform." The audience of 500 executives stood and applauded. In the front row, James watched proudly next to Maria Carter, who was crying with emotion, watching her daughter shine. 2 years ago, I was cleaning this very hotel at night," Emma continued. "I dreamed of being a guest one day. I never imagined I'd be here as an honoree." CNN and Bloomberg cameras captured every word. Emma's story had become an international phenomenon. "I dedicate this award to all the people who work tirelessly in jobs society calls lowly, but who support our entire economy. You may be invisible, but you are essential." The applause was deafening, and I especially thank James Whitaker, CEO of Whitaker Corp., who had the courage to look beyond appearances and see leadership can come from anywhere. Emma paused, searching for James in the crowd. James, you changed my life by believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's when James stood and walked toward the stage. Emma was confused. James, what are you doing? He climbed the steps, took another microphone, and stood beside her. Emma Carter, he said, voice echoing through the hall, you cleaned my life of everything that didn't matter and filled it with true love. The audience murmured, sensing something special. James knelt, pulling a velvet box from his pocket. You taught me a person's worth isn't in what they do, but who they are. Will you marry me? Emma covered her face, tears streaming. James, in front of everyone, I want the world to know I love the most extraordinary woman I've met, he said, opening the box to reveal a simple, elegant diamond ring. Emma, will you be my wife? Yes, she shouted without hesitation. Yes, I will. The ballroom exploded in applause and cheers. Cameras flashed nonstop. Maria Carter wept uncontrollably in the front row, comforted by Lily. James slipped the ring onto Emma's finger and kissed her passionately on stage, while 500 executives celebrated the most romantic moment they'd witnessed at an awards ceremony. 6 months later, Central Park was decorated like a fairy tale for Emma and James's wedding. They chose Bow Bridge, with views of the lake and Manhattan skyline. Emma wore a simple white silk dress, elegant but not extravagant, looking like a princess. James was flawless in a classic tuxedo, but his eyes shone brighter than any fabric. Dear friends, said the officiant, we're gathered not only to celebrate the union of Emma and James, but a story that proves true. Love knows no social barriers. In the audience were Whitaker Corp employees, from executives to cleaning staff. Diego Lopez, now facility supervisor, sat in the front row next to Mia Park, who'd become marketing director. James, Emma said during her vows, you taught me dreams don't expire, that it's never too late to start over, to believe, to love. James replied, you showed me true leadership doesn't come from titles or positions, but from the courage to do what's right. I promise to support you always in any challenge we face together. When the officiant declared them husband and wife, the pigeons in the park seemed to celebrate, flying in circles above as they kissed. 3 months after the wedding, Emma was at her desk, now Vice President of Innovation at Whitaker Corp., when she got a call that would change everything again. Hello, Emma. This is Rachel Peterson from HarperCollins Publishing. Your literary agent sent us your book manuscript. We're interested in publishing it. Emma held the phone with both hands. You want to publish my book? From cleaner to executive, leadership lessons I learned. While cleaning offices is the kind of inspirational story the world needs, and you think it will sell? Rachel laughed. Emma, we have pre-orders from 15 countries. We believe it'll be an international bestseller. After hanging up, Emma placed her hand on her belly, where a little life had been growing for 3 months. Did you hear that, baby? She whispered. Your mommy is going to be a famous author. James appeared in the doorway. Who are you talking to? To our daughter, telling her she'll be born into a world where people know genius can come from anywhere. James kissed her, placing his hand gently over her belly, and she'll grow up knowing her mother changed the corporate world forever. 1 year later, Emma was on the Today Show promoting her book, which had spent 50 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. Emma, the host asked, what's the main lesson you want people to take from your story? That talent doesn't have an address, a last name, or a social class, Emma replied, holding her 6-month-old daughter in her arms. If we give the right people opportunities, they'll surprise the world. Whitaker Corp had become a global model for corporate inclusion. Companies worldwide sent executives to learn the clear business methodology. The talent discovery program had been implemented in over 200 companies across 40 countries. And what comes next? The host asked. Emma looked at James, smiling proudly in the audience. We'll keep proving that when we give people a chance to shine, they transform not only their own lives but the whole world. James stood, walked to Emma, hugged her, and kissed her.